students, strap in. You're gonna see some stupid crap about this dumb year.
So in this video, they continue to list a bunch of examples of how art students and art majors are really weird, making artworks or performing pieces that are kind of just like, what? This being a common stereotype to artists in general. And I'm here to put those rumors to rest, because they are completely true. In my second week of art school, I watched one of my peers measure a gallery space with his penis as the unit of measurement. The best part though was that as soon as he started measuring, my professor leaned over to me and said, "This is gonna take a while." And it did! It was like 1, 2, 3, 4. You get the gist. I've had to analyze a video of a woman stuffing incense up 7 guys' butts and then lighting them on fire. Some of my classmates use animal bones and carcasses in their artwork. I don't know. Also, my school is clothing optional and there are no security cameras. So, yeah, we see a lot. So the rumors are true. Art school is awesome.
There's something really amazing about this artwork that I didn't expect when I first walked into the exhibition. Look at that color change.
So the isolation coating is the layer between the painting and the varnish. The varnish is the top layer, and the isolation coat actually protects the painting. So over time, when the varnish yellows and needs to be restored, when you take the varnish off, the isolation coat acts as a barrier.
It's no big deal. It's no big deal. This is no big deal.
It's called the Midwest because every single thing in it is mid. Skyline chili.
I'm actually good at art. Oh yeah. Draw a background then. What's that? You can't. No, don't give me that plain colored background. Pathetic.
Paint a realistic watercolor eye with me. Lightest colors first. Try using complementary colors. Color pupil, slowly layering, layer. Keep layering with darker shades and colors. Erase pencil lines as it dries. Flesh tones consist of reds, yellows, oranges, blues, purples, and even greens. Use white ink for highlights. More layering. Slowly add eyelashes and eyebrows using a liner brush 100 or round 180. Don't apply too much pressure. Add blues for depth. All done.
If you pack my legs apart, if forget about my tainted heart, then I will never ever be the first to say it, but still I can't know I would do it.
Today I'll be sharing some tips and tricks on using watercolor. Always start with your lightest colors first. As you can see here, I'm beginning to block in my undertones. In order to achieve this effect, I use a large amount of water to make my watercolors transparent. The more water you use, the lighter the color will be. Layering is a really long process and can sometimes take hours. For finer details, such as eyelashes and eyebrows, try using a liner brush or a round 180. Princeton Velvet Touch brushes are a great brand, and they're very sturdy and last a long time. Once your undertones are blocked in, you can begin to use darker layers, using less water as you go along. For realistic skin tones, I tend to use pinks, greens, blues, and even purples. It really depends on what you wish to achieve. Try waiting until each layer has dried before adding the next layer. And for highlights, consider using white bottled Indian ink. Follow for part 2.
If you're looking for a challenge, draw your background before your subject. This teaches you to consider the whole composition instead of the background as an afterthought.
Tips and tricks on painting with watercolors, part 2. Because watercolor is a transparent medium, it's best to start by layering your lightest to darkest colors. More water will equal a lighter color, while less will equal a darker color. It's important to soften the edge of each layer and fan out your color as far as you can. For hair strands and small details, consider using a liner brush or a round 18-0. It's important to have a wide variety of different brushes. Larger brushes for larger areas, smaller brushes for tiny details. Paper type is also very important. I suggest Arches or Canson XL watercolor paper. Be sure to wait for each layer to dry before adding the next layer. Once your main colors have been blocked in, you can begin to add details. And for highlights, try using white bottled Indian ink. Follow for part 3 to see the finished piece.
Even as a professional artist, art block can happen. When I'm struggling, I like to draw something from a prompt list. I drew this based on the word nightmare.
Do you think that smoking drugs is cool? Do you think that doing alcohol is cool?
Here's the most overrated of art supplies. Copic markers may be popular, but they're expensive, they dry out quickly, and the ink feathers on most paper.
How I paint a watercolor portrait. I always start with the eyes first. I guess I've just always been drawn to them the most. After I have the main colors of the eyes blocked in, I'll start to add flesh tones, lightly layering at first, and then slowly adding the darker shades as I go along. For realistic skin tones, I tend to use a wide variety of different colors, such as greens, yellows, and even purples. Next come the eyelashes and eyebrows, which are one of my favorite parts. I use a liner brush 10-0 and sometimes a round 18-0 to achieve these fine details. Try applying a very light amount of pressure. Applying too much pressure and the line will be too thick. Then I start to fill in the other extraneous details, such as outlining the face, and blocking in those darker colors using a larger brush. Layering is a really long process, and sometimes takes me hours to achieve the correct color. Follow for part 2.